on Punjabi diaspora literature and contemporary concepts.
Respected Chair, Professor Narang, first of all, I wish to thank the Center for Diaspora Study for giving me this opportunity to present paper in this conference, because I'm from Dyal College, Delhi University, and I'm working at Indian Institute of Advanced Studies on one of my project on Punjabi diaspora and issues of cultural identity. So I wish to share few things with Professor Narang in my conclusion. I will not take more than 7 to 8 minutes, and I just want to rush to the conclusion to share with Professor. I'll start my paper. So since I am working on a cultural identity issues, so this paper is in this background, basically on Punjabi diaspora settled in UK, US and Canada. Started well before the independence of India, more than 100 years have passed since the commencement of migration of Punjabis to the Western countries, and it still continues unhindered. There has been no remarkable change in the reasons of their migration, nor has the divide between the East and the West been mitigated, nor have the internal characteristics of the migrated Punjabis undergone a substantive qualitative change over these years. In the present times, however, the third generation Punjabi diaspora is struggling to create and realize its own unique space and identity in the Western society. Initially, when people started migrating inspired by the scope of better living and employment, they had somewhere in their mind the wish to come back home, so mostly they traveled alone and also felt homesick in the alien land. Though they have started calling their families lately, but getting uprooted from their home culture and facing challenges to adjust themselves in the most modern, industrialized and consumerist culture has generated the problem of severe generation gap and nostalgia, since with stressful living and work conditions, they hardly have any time to create a balance between work and family. It has indeed been a very difficult task for second generation diaspora to live by creating a balance between indigenous and Western culture, as the previous generation was still living with the internalized mindset of that time when they had migrated from Punjab, and the second generation born and brought up abroad was getting exposed to the expectations and challenges of Western environment. It caused extreme generation gaps and ideological difference between the first and second generation diaspora. The dilemma of the third generation living in the era of post-modern values, however, becomes all the more palpable as they strive to relocate their identity in their own ethnic culture once they have already naturalized the Western social ethics. Thus, the Western Punjabi diaspora presently has arrived at a very decisive juncture, where at one level it needs to negotiate with its backward feudalistic cultural values, on the other consider or accept alien nations as their home and start contributing in it. Though the Punjabi community has settled in America, Canada, Europe and other parts of the world, but they are still connected with the Punjab, and Punjabi psyche still rules and regulates their life responses. Generally considered a broad-minded community, the traces of feudalistic mindset refuse to fade away from their psyche, as has also been reflected in their writings. Initially, diaspora Punjabi writers wrote about problems of migration and resettlement only, and whilst their concerns of racial discrimination, generation gap and nostalgia which still prevail in their literary writings, but in the recent times, their attention has also been drawn towards the new issues emerging out of changing global scenario. An attempt has been made in the present paper to analyze select Punjabi literary texts that reflect different aspects of diaspora. Canadian Punjabi writer Dyal Singh bases his story Towers on the tragedy of World Trade Towers. British Indian Punjabi writer Harjeet Atwal in his novel Southall, tackles a new problematic of contemporary Punjabi society dealing with the sensitive issue of honor killing and the new emerging mindset of the next generation. Ajmer Rode, in his play Nirlaj, has unraveled the disgraceful deeds of Punjabi society living abroad in a liberalized Western society. He has taken up the issue of female feticide very boldly by attacking the Punjabi mindset and its ingrained gender discrimination. It has been witnessed from their writing that with the passage of time, Diaspora Punjabi writers have widened their perspective and approach in response to the contemporary global issues affecting the lives of religious, cultural and other minorities. They are going deeper to analyze the core socio, cultural and political issues related to the immigrations and trying to tackle these issues in different ideological perspectives. What was considered a crisis for Punjabi culture at one point of time, they are treating those very issues as a construct of a new kind of culture. British Punjabi novelist Harjit Atwal's novel Southall addresses a number of sensitive issues which the Punjabi community faces in England. Atwal has tried to articulate the problems of diaspora Punjabi society in the light of emerging multi-ethnic ghetto culture in Southall of England. Southall has emerged as an area of majority of Asian minorities where only a small number of British people can be seen. Majority of ethnic minorities, flocking of illegal migrants at one place and the racial discrimination by majority forcing such people to come and live together are some of the factors that caused the emergence of ghetto culture in Southall. Harjit Atwal's novel takes note of all these peculiarities and incorporates them into the setting of his novel to assess the contemporary situation of Punjabi society there. Diaspora Punjabi writings primarily address cultural issues, whether related to dialogue or clash between two cultures. India itself is a great example of composite culture, having a long history of cultural clashes and cultural dialogues. It has seen that people migrating from such places generally prefer generating dialogue among diverse situations. With such a mindset and approach, the people who migrated abroad in the beginning rarely thought of maintaining or creating their identity. It was never an issue for them initially. In fact, in the beginning, Punjabi migrants carried colonial impact and considered English culture superior, wishing to follow and imitate it. So whenever they would visit their home, they would try to look more like the English, and such an attitude would invariably create unease amongst their local brethren, who in turn would themselves start dreaming of migration. But the real challenge for these migrants was to get themselves legalized at any cost. That's why even now, once a new migrant, Fauji or Freshie, reaches there, he starts looking for the ways of settling down permanently. This situation has been depicted in this novel very vividly. When a boy or a girl migrates on the basis of marriage, he or she has to face various difficulties, sometimes even inhuman tortures. Sexual exploitation of girls has become one of the serious issues. Further, I have discussed selective Punjabi novelists and story writers from UK, US and Canada. I skipped most of the part. Diaspora Punjabi writer Dyal Singh from Canada, who was sitting here. Okay, I have discussed Darshan Teer, Ajmer Rode. Initially, I have already read those names. And now Dyal Singh, because he was here presently talking to you. So, Diaspora Punjabi writer Dyal Singh from Canada, in his widely read and discussed short story Towers, deals with